Back better than ever. And I'm just gonna get started. Ooh, the hole that I've been in for the past like 3, 4 months. And it's not that anything was necessarily bad going on in my life, but I just felt like I wasn't coming to this channel with fresh or new ideas. I really had to challenge myself and just found myself pretty much going into the same patterns of behavior as I was preaching against in my videos. Um, my computer tower on the left over here has been MIA for probably about a month now because of bullshit that I did with the system. I pretty much shut it down too quickly. And because of that, I haven't been playing video games. Hot minute. A lot has been happening. I'm editing some stuff for recently directed a movie around with. I got back into Magic the Gathering. Got a cat. Just trying to back this camera right now. View. Look at her. Look at that cat. Look at her. Gave her something to preoccupy herself with. She inevitably tries to attack my board like she's looking at. The conversation is fear. Fear of being seen, fear of people knowing exactly who you are, fear of the unknown, fear of getting into imposter because fear overall. Thing is that fear is the possibility. Move, you don't go anywhere. You don't really progress. Give me a second. All right, sorry about that. I had to fix something up. Um, so if you're afraid, you don't get anything done. You allow the world to act upon you. You know, you waste a lot of your skills. You waste a lot of the God gave you to use. I'm not talking about God from Christians. God doesn't really encapsulate talking about. Talking about the movement, the machine that we live. Machine made out of matter, time, constant shifts in energy into other forms. There is the other associated with the root chakra. I feel like I'm constantly going back to the root chakra to understand what it is, exactly that I have to do. It really is simple. Face your fears. do things to help you feel safer. Do that, you don't compensate by doing drugs, by falling in love with the don't compensate by situation that act on this fear. And to be honest, that kind of translates into what the fuck is happening now. Um, on a broader sense, fear is just one aspect that is being acted upon as a trigger, a stimuli. The other forms are lust, anger, and overall ego. I remember this test that this one guy named Analysis made. I don't necessarily agree with his view. I agree with four drives that the internet's kind of dragging out. And that would be the you want to entertain yourself, distraction. You want to use your sexual drives, that lust, to fight against somebody, anger. Want to reinforce your ego so you get into echo kind of feed into confirmation bias. I would be remiss if say that that has happened to me majority of my life. I got into like anything hardcore because I was in an echo chamber. I only believe side of the story. You know, I'd played many times. Wasn't an angry person, not an angry. Picking sides on the wasn't really. I also entertained the fuck out of myself through video games. Now the distraction and also YouTube and social media algorithm. I had gotten to a point where it kind of turned off any form of responsibility I had for myself. I wasn't brushing my teeth. I let my apartment go to shit. I started act other forms of hygiene, and I would ostracize myself from. If it wasn't for the fact that my bills could be paid later than usual, I probably would have been evicted by now. It had gotten that. Now this video started out with fear and me showing off the cat, but the triggers, all of the triggers that acted up, because I didn't take the personal responsibility to change it from bottom up, give myself that foundational out. In these things, when I had given myself an outlet to talk through, to draw, to even edit this thing that I'm doing, um, project. It's like that gave me a perfect place for me to put all of that's one. It's like have something going to take all your energy. Have something that's going to what do you want? I'm doing something. Have something that's going to take away your energy. Have something that is going to this fucking cat. Still a kitten. Little shitter. Who's going to be energetic and pissing me off. But, you have something that you put your energy into. You have also something that takes you out of the fair state, which means, exercise. You have to really exhaust yourself. And, you could use exercise as like an outlet for your energy, but it's beneficial really to, make yourself feel safer because if you have some sort of physical agency, you're not going to be as afraid about what's happening to you. You know, there is also the, financial aspect, which I think that's where I'm focusing on a lot more now. Being in my 20s, I can't think about things through this recreational lens like I used. People, more and more people are going to depend on me. But what my parents wanted out, I think I was so caught up in the idea of moving out and doing things the way I wanted to that I didn't stop to think, what am I doing it for? That was an important thing to learn. So that gave, when that is focused upon and have that area covered, you feel safer. And yeah, I I I meditate a lot more, but that's not because of the idea that I want to be with my third eye open. And to be honest with you, meditation is just a way for me to sharpen my connection with myself. And at one point, I wanted to remove the voices from my head because I think a lot. I wanted to remove that aspect of myself from, you know, my day to day life. But it gets way more like now it's like it's a way for me to understand myself better, get in contact with the emotions. It's very easy for my emotions to kind of silent background of this that keeps constantly spinning. You know, when I actually give myself the time to feel something, it's a different mode of operating. Whenever you feel something, you're not, thoughts do come up, but you're not thinking like how to solve it from an emotional standpoint. It's only mental that you think that way. And that actually prevents you from processing these. Like when I looked at a lot of YouTube videos whatnot, talking about the root, talking about emotions, talking about other, you know, very fundamental issues that people go through. And a lot of the times, anyone who's alexithymic or anyone who is, just normally more of a thinker, healer, they don't give themselves room to just feel. Feeling it just is. Like you are now feeling. There is no end point to feeling except for partaking in experience of it, or going through a lot of the emotions. But um when the thoughts come in and stop you from feeling now, or they don't even stop you, it's like pouring water through rocks. It will slow down the process. And then if you're thinking too much, it's like pouring water into sand. It'll absorb all the energy, the emotions, and you could have done something with it. Like I'm an artist. When I just started drawing, when I felt certain things, or when I started to just like, even with the thoughts, when I started to have a feeling, like on my daily walk or on today's walk, when I had the feeling of wow, this would be a good topic to talk about, I just turned on the camera and just started to record. You know, when you feel something, you have outlets for it. You can go to the gym for anger. You can, even transmute lust and whatnot into, artworks and whatnot. And, this cat is chasing around the fucking ball. Um, you can do something with these palpable emotions. They are the engine, the starting point for you to actually do something. And a lot of the times we were so focused on, or at least with me, I was focused on escaping the emotion so much so that, you know, the only way to feel something is now to medicate or to, excuse me, self medicate, to, you know, behaviorally avoid and distance myself from where it is that I'm feeling. It's a coward's way. And it's at, going full circle, it's fear. Uh, and I admit that I'm fearful, that I have been fearful. I can't say that I'm fearful now because with the knowledge of what it is that I afraid of, the only way out is through with. You cannot just be afraid, and if you're afraid, that is the most primal, you know, feeling that you have to transmute by facing. Face it. That's where the gold is. There's so much primal energy stored at the spine, so all the negatives. But when it's transformed into something else or transmuted into something, you know, the emotion is transmuted into action, or the drive is transmuted into work, tangible work. I think that gives you the exact foundation that all these spiritual people are telling you why these are such foundational energies. If you think about it like a gear, the biggest gear would be, it would move the slowest. That's pretty much your chakras. The root chakra is the biggest gear. It moves the slowest, but it has enough kinetic force to move all the other gears because the mass allows it to maintain the velocity. Pretend that I remember a lot of my, but you know what I mean. It's big enough to move all the other gears. That's why it's found. That's how I think about all of this. You know? And all of these negative emotions, when associated with it being negative, I want to remove myself from it. But try, if I look at them as just like raw material to work with, like ingredients to cook with, or like an empty canvas that like, that's the medium. Now it turns from something that is bad to something that is integral in the symphony is human. But here, as we all know, is filler because we don't do actually surpass our limit. What limit are you going to surpass if you don't? What environment are you going to adapt to if you won't even put yourself in that? There's no growth. Instead, you will. That's all I have. I'm glad to be uploading after time. My current challenge, one that I will accept graciously, is to continue to work despite how I feel. But that's all for me. Take care, y'all.